Chapter 2. Hurry up and wait. They said freedom would die with a bang, but the truth is, it was signed away in broad daylight. The political diatribe continued over the government-issued Crown Victoria's car stereo, tuned into AM talk radio, as the driver exited Interstate 15 just north of San Diego, California. The right-wing media personality continued his excited rant. Hear me now and quote me later. The bias and untruthful press is calling it the 2008 financial crisis. For one reason. To blame your president, George W. Bush, for a situation that was wholly and objectively the fault of the liberals. Democrats blocked every GOP-led attempt to. Then there was silence when the driver cut off the radio as the sedan rolled to a stop at the gate of Marine Corps Air Station Miramar. Without a word, the driver handed over his credentials. The armed guard scanned the ID, nodded, and waved him through. No questions, no small talk. He just drove on, heading toward one of the legacy hangars. The base, like its Marines, was kept to regulation. Lawns were trimmed to a precise 2.5 inches. The edges never touched the sidewalks, always a neat 1/4 inch buffer. Hedges were sculpted into geometric perfection. Every blade of grass, every shrub, every border, maintained perfectly. Except one place, the old master jet station. Back there, the asphalt had split open with time. Weeds crawled through the cracks and fissures. The parking lines were ghosts of paint. Lead-based ships flaked from abandoned structures, dull grey against sun-bleached ground. Only a few Marines ever passed through, jogging the perimeter during daily PT. Otherwise, the place was deserted. Today was different. The Crown Vic sat near the hangar's massive barn doors. The driver stepped out and knocked on a side door, hard and flat with his fist. It opened almost immediately. A tall man in a technician's lab coat stood holding a clipboard, his head just shy of the frame. "Pizza delivery," the driver said, his voice curt. "What size and toppings?" The man in the door asked without blinking. The driver answered with the predetermined security phrase, "Medium, extra cheese and garlic sauce." With a nod, the technician said, "Come on in, you're expected." "Yeah, all right." The accent and attitude were more prominent this time. Pure South Bronx. The technician responded, "Boss is inside, waiting for you." The door swung wide. The driver stepped into the dim cavern of the hangar. His eyes adjusted quickly, finding the oversized vehicle in the center, a custom-built truck, camper rigged onto its extended bed. That's where the so-called boss was waiting. The technician in his lab coat walked ahead, long legs setting a fast pace. By the time they were halfway across the floor, he was already 2 steps ahead. They stopped in front of a woman, wearing grease-streaked coveralls, with the sleeves torn off, her cap pulled low. Muscles coiled in her arms. Her presence said it all before she spoke. "You the one in charge?" the driver asked. The boss answered. He looked around, then back at her. "How's this work? You handing me the keys now, or what?" She sized him up, then smirked. "Not today, sport." The driver exhaled, shoulders rising slightly, as his eyes drifted toward the exit. "You're wasting my time," the driver said. His patience was being tested, and he didn't like it. Not at all. She pointed to the technician. "He'll give you the once through. Any questions, ask him. You return with Dr. Jones, then you get to take it." He tilted his head. "My name's not Sport. It's Brett Lerner on this mission. And you? Do you have a name, or just Boss?" "She's just Boss," the technician answered. The boss nodded and turned away. Her job done. She didn't speak, unless she had to. When she did, her words landed hard. No room for misunderstanding. "It's unlocked," the technician said, nodding toward the truck. A machine built for a purpose no one was talking about. He flipped to the first checklist on his clipboard. "Let's start with the specialized gear setup in the camper." Learned followed the technician toward the back. Back at his hotel room, it occurred to Lerner, the more things changed, the more they refused to change at all. Sitting in a hotel room that smelled like carpet cleaner and forgotten hopes, he wondered how long his new partner, mentor, supervisor, or babysitter was going to make him wait. He wasn't exactly sure what the job hierarchy was in the organization. Mostly, he just showed up where they told him and didn't ask questions. That had worked so far. So, he used the downtime the only way he knew how, cleaning his weapon like his old drill instructor used to scream at him. You take care of your weapon, and your weapon will take care of you. A cliché, sure, but also one of the few useful things yelled into his face at Camp Pendleton. That was a lifetime ago. 4 years in the Corps, 4 years out, and now this. Whatever this was. He sat at a tiny circular table in the far corner of the room. His cleaning kit was already laid out beside his sidearm. First, he dropped the magazine. Then he racked the slide, ejecting the chambered round. Click, clack. Round went back into the magazine. Everything was in order. He stripped the pistol down, brushing out the slide rails, receiver and bore, with the kind of love most men reserved for classic cars or aging dogs. Any gunk got flicked to the floor like it had insulted his mother. Satisfied, he reassembled the weapon, slapped the magazine back in, racked the slide, and holstered it, just as someone knocked on the door. Perfect timing, Lerner thought, but he didn't jump up. No way. He'd been locked in this room for 3 days straight, except for his quick tryst to Miramar. If his mystery man had made him wait, he could return the favor. Lerner muttered, he can wait 5 more seconds. This was their first meeting, even though the mission had been in the works for a year. Strange that they'd waited until now to introduce the 2 guys at the center of it. That's government efficiency for you. He checked the peephole. A man stood there, staring, like he was waiting for divine instructions. Lerner opened the door. The man didn't move. Just stared somewhere over Lerner's shoulder, like he was inspecting the stucco ceiling, the builder-grade carpet, the wallpaper. Lerner was at least 5 years younger, but only on paper. Whatever this guy's age was, Lerner had earned his wrinkles the hard way. The silence stretched. Lerner finally broke. "Dr. Jones? That you?" he asked, less out of curiosity and more out of tedium. The man snapped out of his staring contest with the hallway. "On this mission, I'll be going by Jonesy. Just Jonesy." Then he squinted. "South Bronx accent, right?" "Yeah." Lerner raised a brow. "You ready to go?" "I got the call hours ago." They found the targets. Jones gave a lazy smile and brushed past him like this was his room. He plopped down on Lerner's unmade bed, like a man unconcerned with boundaries. "Make yourself at home," Lerner muttered. Jones didn't respond. Just grabbed the remote and started flipping through channels, until he landed on a 24-hour news cycle in full ideological meltdown. 2 pundits shout over each other about drones, foreign policy, and whose fault the world was. "President Obama is trying to end these conflicts responsibly," one insisted. The rival pundit retorted, "Oh please," bucked the other. "Bush was the one politically brave enough to fight them over there, so we don't have to fight them here. 2 wars and tax cuts. Your guy ran the country like a rich kid's trust fund," shot back the liberal. Without taking a break, the conservative said sarcastically, "Your guy got a peace prize for thinking about peace." Lerner stared at the screen, then hit the power button before his blood pressure got high enough to break the remote in his clenched hand, or before he shot the TV and added property damage to the week's to-do list. He opened the door and said, "Let's go. We can tail them, at least." Jones rose with a slow nod. "Sure, sport. We can tail them, at least." Lerner paused at the door. "On this mission, I'll be going by Brett Lerner." He turned and walked into the hallway, not waiting to see if Jones followed. Behind him came a small sound, either a sniffle or the beginnings of a laugh. Either way, this was going to be a long mission.